4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition. Strap in. You're about to listen to the hottest sounds in the mix. In the mix.
Peace and elevation, family. Welcome to the Wake Up Project with Brother Mike X. Family, I want you to know that this podcast, which is a close family member of a group that I started, I say about 3 years ago on Facebook, called the Wake Up Project, is closely associated with that and has the same, it's an outgrowth. It has the same mission. And that mission is this podcast, that group, this podcast has been created to give people of Black/African descent a venue where they can come to learn and to teach our people the importance of gaining and maintaining a strong cultural, spiritual, mental, physical, political, economic, and social consciousness and practice as individuals and as a people. The Wake Up Project will not focus on the problems and what is wrong, but more importantly on solutions and what we must do ourselves, meaning me, meaning you, meaning others, ourselves as individuals, because that's where the power starts, to make things right for our babies and for our collective future. The Wake Up Project will not play a part in promoting favoritism or blind allegiance to any narrow-minded, ideological, philosophical, and/or religious points of view. We are open to build with any and all who desire to contribute to a much-needed wake-up call to and for our people in the various Black neighborhoods across America. So I'm gonna get into the habit. I want you to connect with me, not only through the podcast, but I want you to connect with me through Facebook and help us build this venue. You know what I mean? Like I said in another broadcast, whether it was last Sunday or the Sunday before, yes, this can be considered my baby, but I'm asking for you to consider yourself godparents. You know, don't leave it up to me to fight for this opportunity that we have by myself, you know, but join on, take a vested interest in helping this wake up call, this wake up project to gain life, much needed life in our neighborhoods. So, having said that, family, tonight we're going to talk about the blockbuster film Black Panther. But before we get into that, I just got a couple of remarks and I'm going to strive to be as quick as possible with this so that we can get into that conversation. First and foremost, family, I want to say that you must work to become a champion in your calling. You must work to become an active, positive proponent in your calling. Don't sit on the sidelines waiting for an opportunity to critique the good, committed work of other people with nothing of your own that you're building. You know what I'm saying? And I see this time and time again on social media. I hear this time and time again in the neighborhoods. There are some of us who have broken our allegiance with bitterness. There are some of us who have broken our allegiance to griping and whining and complaining and protesting for better treatment from other people. There's some of us who have broken our allegiance with that, and we are in the midst of fighting to bring forth our creative and creativity, our imagination, and we are working to become part of the solution. And a lot of times, man, we have people who, they'll ignore what you're doing. You know, like for instance, I advertised this show on my Facebook in the Wake Up Project itself today. And there was a family member who ignored the entire purpose of the post that I had. And the post was to say, yeah, tonight come through to take part in this podcast where we're going to be discussing the blockbuster, not only the blockbuster film Black Panther, but asking what can we draw out of the positive imagery, the positive dialogue that we saw depicted in that film. So this particular family member didn't acknowledge that the intent of the post at all, and dropped a comment saying, yeah, it's all good about the Wake Up Project, but what about the indigenous population? Boom, 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 boom. And I said to the family member, like, I would have appreciated, you know, you asking that question more if you just would have created your own post in the Wake Up Project, you know, where you are a positive proponent. You are a positive champion. You've rolled up your sleeves, and this is your pet belief or your pet project, you know, that's rooted to, you know, to you, you know, fighting for that. I would have felt better about that if you would have just took the time and created your own post and maybe even tagged me in it, you know, to where I would have felt, you know, positive, like, yeah, okay, what's up? Let's talk about that, you know. And first and foremost, I'm expecting for you to be a champion of that particular cause, not for you to expect me, who has already accepted his calling, who already knows what his ministry is, what his positive purpose is, and has been fighting to maintain that for almost 30 years now. You know, it's an ongoing process as we continue to evolve. And I've been at this for almost 30 years, yes, you know. So instead of you ignoring what I presented positively and striving to obscure or striving to detract, and I'm not going to say that he did it on purpose, you know, but nonetheless, it became a distraction for a little bit of a time. And to the best of my ability, I strove to maintain my positive discourse with that family member and was dead set on acknowledging and trying to offer up a method of the way we could have, like I said, we could have gotten into that conversation a little bit better, you know, than you just ignoring what I've already committed myself to and brushing that to the side to drop something that you are concerned about. I say that my concern is just as valid as your concern, you know, and we have to begin to practice that. It reminds me of another thing that happened some years ago. Rosa Parks, who, you know, passed away, I believe, in 2005. A lot of her personal belongings had come up on the auction block. And I had this sister who was a friend on my social media at the time get mad at me because I didn't show the type of concern that she was showing for the fact that Rosa Parks' personal effects was on the auction block. And she started an argument with me, clowning some of my beliefs because I didn't show the same level of concern that she was showing for Rosa Parks' personal effects being up for auction. And I basically finally had to tell her, well, sis, if this is your main concern, if this is something that's rising up in your spirit to where you feel that this cause needs a champion, then that means that you must stand up and be that champion. You know what I mean? There are so many causes that need to be fought for in and amongst the black neighborhoods, in and amongst the black family. Instead of you or us going to war trying to fight over which one is the most important, what we need to do is if you feel compelled that this cause needs to be fought for, then that means that you should be the one considering yourself a champion for that cause. And in that way, when each one of us begin to find our personal reason for existing at this day and time. When we start to take ownership of our positive purpose and we begin to fight within ourselves to be an example, to be a champion, to be someone who's shedding light on and trying to create positive discourse, to bring attention to that cause, to bring people together so that we can make sure that that cause doesn't continue to be a problem. That's when we're going to begin to see change in our communities. We got to move away from, again, sitting back and critiquing the great efforts of people to bring love, to bring truth, to bring light into existence within themselves so that they can overflow that positive energy into others, so that they can overflow that positive energy into their communities. We got to stop being that devil's advocate, man. We got to cut that out. You got better. You got more to give than that. Instead of being a devil's advocate, how about you become a God's advocate? How about you commit yourself to bring positive energy, encouragement to people who are standing up and trying to get positive things on, up and running. I say again, and I was saying this last show, there are many paths that lead to love, truth, healing, and redemption. There are many paths that lead to love, healing, truth, and redemption. There's many paths to get me from New York City to Oakland, California. Many paths. My path will be a straight path. Somebody who's down south, their path should be a straight path. And their path might not necessarily be my path. The path that got me up and out of living an arrogantly ignorant life, believing that, I was an N-word, believing that I had nothing positive to offer to myself, much less my people, much less the community that I grew up in. It started for me through hip-hop. Hip-hop at the time, like I said, hip-hop introduced me to who became my spiritual father, the Honorable Malcolm X. And through Malcolm X, I found purpose, I found dignity, I found pride in being a black man. I found a positive calling to my life to where before that I didn't have one. And as I began to become an active student, not a student because, the public school of New York City says you're supposed to be in this building and you're supposed to learn this particular curriculum, but I'm talking about became a student of truth, a student who knows the power of education, a student who knows that knowledge is potential power, that knowing is half the battle. And the other half of the battle, man, is committing yourself to practicing that knowledge, practicing that truth, So there's many paths. The name of one path that might be more accessible to you, if you was trying to get to California, follow me, I'm making an analogy. The path that's most near and dear to you, it might be called something else. It might be, it might be Buddhism. It might be Islam. It might be comedic science. It might be Moorish science. I would be a fool to tell you, say if you live out in Chicago, I would be a fool to tell you that instead of you going straight from Chicago to Oakland, which is closer, to Oakland, Chicago was closer to Oakland than New York City, I would be a fool to tell you you got to come to New York City. You got to abandon your straight path that's most accessible to you, and you have to come to New York City first to get down and use the path that I'm using. Does that make sense? This is the type of narrow-minded, dogmatic, divisive perspectives that's being practiced in and amongst our people, where we begin to fight people over their spiritual, beliefs or their cultural beliefs. We got to stop doing that. You focus on you. You be a true believer and practitioner of what you're practicing. And you work on exemplifying that. You work on bearing as much fruit in what you believe as possible, because that's the best way that people will know that what you're practicing and what you believe in has merit. Not that you're arguing with them, not that you're ridiculing and shaming them because they don't practice what you practice, but because you're showing through your life that what you practice and what you believe in is worthy of someone believing in and practicing. Prove it through your life. I say again, and I want to move on. It's not cool to sit on the sidelines with no positive commitment of your own, playing devil's advocate, finding a reason. Me and my son was talking about this the other night. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but, my son was sharing with me his frustration over the but people, the ones who's looking for a reason to disagree. How about you find a reason to agree? How about live and let live? You practice what is helping you to become free in the light of truth. And let other people practice what they're practicing. And how about, instead of trying to get someone to be exactly like you, how about we strive to learn, we learn how to encourage other people to be the best people that they can be. And you do the same thing. How would we get around if our legs went to war with our arms? Saying I'm the most important piece of the body, and the arms is like, nah, I'm the most important piece. Or the liver went to war with the heart. I'm the most important piece. No, I'm the most important piece. Went to war with the lungs, and they began fighting to try to take the top spot. You would cease to exist immediately. There's a word called organization, and I've heard that the word organization comes from your organs. Okay, we got a phone call. Come through, family. Who's speaking? Please introduce yourself and tell us where you're calling from.
Peace, this is Ella. I'm calling from Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn. Always funky fresh back in the days. How you doing, sis?
Peace, Brother Mike. I'm doing excellent. I'm doing excellent. I'm glad that I'm here at this time always.
No doubt. I'm glad you're here as well. What's on your mind tonight, sis?
Yeah, so I just had something to say in reference to what you were just talking about, about people, discouraging people or adding their own ideas about what the others should believe. And that just made me think about how, people doubt themselves, even if they're in a certain religion or practice or not, whatever it is that they're doing, or that they want to be, or that they're interested in, or that they want to practice to help their lives. They kind of doubt themselves at times. And when a person is doubting themselves, then it would be easy for them to try to instill doubt in you. Because they don't believe, if you don't, basically, it's like you don't believe in yourself, then I'm not going to believe in you. I'm going to, if I'm not, living my dream and you tell me your dream, I'm going to say, well, yeah, that's a dream and that's all it's going to be, because I don't believe in taking those leaps, of faith for myself. So I can't have faith in you. So, sometimes we can't expect things from people that they don't even have for themselves. So once we begin to, all of this is all about working on self and focusing on self so that we can not only be the example for others, but we can show love and we can show understanding to others when we see where they are in reference to where we've come from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then we can have that understanding and we can build them up, you know, but we have to be doing that for ourselves from the jump, you know, or we won't be able to give anybody advice.
That's right. So let me ask you right quick, sis, because you know the time is at a premium, and I had to get some things off my chest before I went into talking about the blockbuster film Black Panther and the sovereign nation according to that film of Wakanda. Let me ask you, did you see that film, and what positive things did you draw from, you know, that film that we can use and we must use to get ourselves together as a people and to begin to find a way to take ownership of our communities, because we're the only racial ethnic group in America that doesn't have ownership of its own community. You can see Little Italy, you can see Chinatown, you can see you know, all of these other places where different racial ethnic groups have come together, and through the power of their unity, they've taken political and economic control over their neighborhood. So I hope that didn't lead you. I want you to say what you felt. You know, that's just kind of what I'm feeling. But yeah, how you felt? What did you get out of that film that we can use?
I got really self-preservation, and I think that was the battle, you know, in it, to where the villain, I don't know why I can't think of his name right now. Killmonger. Yeah. Yeah, you know, he wanted to go out and fight, you know, and a lot of us in, you know, the conscious community, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, talks about, you know, going out fighting, taking up arms, you know, marching, battling, you know, and bringing like the same type of energy towards those that we feel are the reasons for our oppression and things like that. What I appreciated about the people in Wakanda was that they wouldn't have been where they were if they were trying to handle everybody else's problems. And that's what they realized, and that's what they were trying to stand on. You know, Black Panther, he had an issue with that. You know, he wanted to go and help, but the people was like, you know, we're good like how we are. You know, and it's the same thing as far as you taking care of yourself. You making sure that you're good, because you can't help anyone being in the same place that they are. Exactly. You know, so we have to share. We can only share when we get. You know, I mean, we can share when we're on the same level. But if I have more, then I could come and I can give to you, and I can help to bring you up to where I am. So self-preservation is definitely something that I got from there. They would not have been where they were as a country or whatever they call themselves if they had not taken care of themselves first.
Got you. All right. Hey sis, we gonna work it out. And there's a lot of things going on, but you know, and we'll talk about that. But nothing's gonna stop us. You know, nothing's gonna stop us as long as each one of us, we fight to take ownership, positive ownership of this gift called life. And that's one of the things that I respect the most, you know, from you, you know, and I feel like this is kind of where we're vibrating at the same intensity. And when we bring that intensity together, we can turn it up and dispel the darkness, of ignorance, of hate, of confusion. And this is where we got to focus, I believe. And I know everybody's not going to agree with that, but we don't need everybody to agree with that. You know, we just need the courage and the discipline to fight to bring forth our best life. And I appreciate you doing that, family.
Thank you. That was a word that I was going to say, courage. That's, you know, right. That when you have that, you know, what people say, it doesn't matter as much, and we all need that to be our best selves. Yes. Thank you.
So please, you know, continue. It's on Facebook Live right now. It's on YouTube. Unfortunately, I can't tie up the lines, but if you feel like, there's something that you heard, as we continue, please come back in.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for being you.
Thank you, family. Yeah.
All right, peace.
Peace. I want to give a brief shout out to the family that I see on Facebook Live. To my brother, Glenn. Thank you for coming through, family. Thank you for encouraging, us to really put our best foot forward with this. We don't think that we're special. We just think that and know that we have something to say and that our lives have meaning. Our lives have purpose, and we're going to show that. We're not going to cover ourselves up, cover up our gifts, and try to go along to get along anymore. We're going to bring what's special in me, what's special in you, and those of us who agree that it's time for solutions, we need to bring that out. You know what I'm saying? I see my sister, Veronica from Chicago. I see you on the Facebook Live, and I appreciate you, family, for being who you are as well. So what I like the most, and there's a lot of things that I liked, and, there were people who were clowning, the fact that $1 billion so far, $1 billion in rising amount of money has been spent on going to see Black Panther. I'll tell you the truth. I saw it 3 times. And if I didn't get caught up, in preparing for the show today, I was going to go see it a 4th time today. Because I draw energy, I draw inspiration, not just from nonfiction, but I also draw energy and inspiration from works of fiction as well. Because, see, this is the thing, family. You have to start focusing on taking positive ownership again of your life. Your life, for as long as you have it, is precious. It's a gift. And when you stop focusing so much on the outside and what's happening outside of you and railing against, the oppression of the system. Not to say that the oppression of the system shouldn't be addressed, but there's a positive way to address it. When you stop focusing so much on, Negro peons and the sheeple and the 85%, and what have you, and you start focusing more on what you have to offer and on your freedom to offer it, this is when you will begin to take part in your own healing, in your own redemption, in your own strength and empowerment, in your own ability to shine, the light of love, the light of truth, to where you can help our people heal themselves. And that's a wonderful gift, man. That's a wonderful gift, man. I'm amazed sometimes to be one of those who has been given the opportunity to be a light bringer, to be someone who could use his life as a vessel of hope, of light, of love, of truth, of compassion, of empathy on behalf of our people and anyone else, who wants to participate in that type of elevated discussion, that type of elevated coming together, no matter what your race or your ethnicity is. See, because Black love is not anti-other people. Black love is pro-healing, the pro-healing of self, the pro-redemption of self, so that we can live life as we were created to be able to live it. It's beneath me to focus on hating anyone and being angry and being wrathful and allowing myself to get stuck in that. Like I said in one of the shows that passed, yeah, you might need anger to help you to get out of an abusive relationship or an abusive situation or a job that's not, a job that's not really giving you the type of wherewithal to help you the way you're helping it. Sometimes you need to get angry so that you can have enough strength to get out of that. But getting stuck in that to where the only thing you have to offer is slander, the only thing you have to offer is narrow-mindedness, the only thing you have to offer is devil advocate, you know, pessimism. Like, come on, family. That's beneath me, that's beneath you, that's beneath us. So anyway, what I liked about Panther, one of the many things is I liked the way that they overcame the divisiveness, the contention of tribalism, you know, within the Wakandan nation. At least in the beginning of the movie, they overcame it, you know. And I guess at the end of the movie, they you know, even though it had broken out, that tribalism had broken out, they were all able to overcome that tribalism by the end of the movie. What do you mean tribalism, Brother Mike? You saw the way when the Panther had his ceremony of becoming the king, and you had the different tribes that were lined up, and the different tribes had different representatives, different leaders of their particular tribe. And they all was there, and they asked each one of them, does anybody want to challenge for the kingship from this tribe? And they was like, yo, we good over here, you know? And they gave their support to not only T'Challa, the Black Panther, as the king, but to Wakanda as a nation. Yeah, they were strong within their tribe. You could tell that they had strength, that they had organization, that they had coordination within their tribe. But instead of that tribe trying to disrespect other tribes, which, you know, to bring chaos to the nation called Wakanda, they was like, yo, we good. You know, we support your leadership. And there were other tribes that were asked if they had, you know, if they wanted to take over the kingship. And most of them didn't. And then you had the one tribe, the gorilla tribe, and they tried, you know, and when they was defeated, they took their lumps and they, you know, went back, you know, to where their tribe exists within the Wakanda nation. And I should have gave out a spoiler alert, you know, for those who didn't see the movie. But as far as I'm concerned, man, the movie been out for like more than a month now. And if you haven't seen it by now, you shouldn't expect people to be, you know, so concerned about spoiler alerts, man, after a month and, you know, and change that this movie been out. You know what I mean? So what's up with that tribalism? You know, we're still divided and conquered, you know, as the sons and daughters of Africa. We're still divided and conquered. You got African Americans. You got Africans from the mother continent. You got Haitians. You got Jamaicans. You got West Indians. You have what's known by some as Afro-Brazilians. You have a growing community of Afro-Latinos where they have been impacted by the Spanish culture, but they also are striving to stake their claim that they know they come from the mother continent. And instead, and a lot of times, we haven't overcome that tribalism yet. A lot of times, we're still practicing allowing ourselves to be divided and conquered by the ghost of Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch, look that up, family. Google it. You know, Google it. Willie Lynch. I can't go into that right now, but Willie Lynch is supposed to be a figure who introduced a methodology of divide and conquer, you know, to keep those who were enslaved from being able to reunite themselves. Pit the old against the young, pit the male against the female, pit the light skin against the dark skin. You know, pit the enslaved who work in the house against those who worked in the field. And we still have a lot of divide and conquer going on within these distinct tribes, where a lot of times African Americans or black people are not able to put their differences to the side so that we can focus on our commonalities. A lot of times, again, you have, say, Haitians that have beef with Jamaicans, that have beef with West Indians. And a lot of times, family, those cultural divisions are still connected to the imperialist powers that come out of Europe. So you have sometimes, you know, so-called African Americans talking about, yo, speak English. You know? But why are you speaking English? You're speaking English because you were stolen by the English. You have others who speak Spanish. Why are you speaking Spanish? You're speaking Spanish because Spain at one time was in a war of imperialism to try to conquer the earth. And they spread colonialism throughout, you know, different parts of the earth. They took your culture and replaced your culture with Spanish. The Haitians, they have something called Creole. It's a language that, you know, is part French and is part other things. Why are you speaking French? You're speaking French because France, in its war, doing its part in striving to take over the world, in its war of conquest and colonialism, it imposed its culture of French upon indigenous peoples. So I say that's what I like the most. That's what I like the most. I liked how they were able in Wakanda, it was depicted that they were able to overcome their tribalism and keep their distinction, you know, not try to fight within this particular tribe. I'm going to try to make everybody bow down to our tribal customs. And if they don't bow down to our tribal customs, I'm going to start to ridicule them and shame them and judge them and fight with them. But nah, we're pretty good over here in this particular tribe. And we're strong and we're striving to represent ourselves to the best of our ability. And we overflow our strength as a particular tribe for the good of the Wakandan nation. And we need to seriously begin to figure out how we can begin to exemplify that, you know, where we call people to be true believers of whatever it is that you say that you practice. Don't just use, you know, your uniform. Don't just come through the back door and align yourself with a clique. And you're not even practicing the principles, the standards of what that group that you say that you believe in. You're not even practicing the principles and the standards of it. So instead of you being able to build up a strength that is uniquely your own as a member of a particular group or a particular organization, to where you have something to offer to that particular organization, a lot of times you're just there to be there, you know, just to suck up the energy, you know, that group is supposed to, you know, that it offers you, that it confers upon you. This is happening in different groups. This is happening in the different churches and mosques and temples. This is happening in the different street organizations and political groups. A lot of times you have people, like Sis was saying, that really don't believe in themselves as an individual, that really are not in tune with striving to live up to a personal dignity, self-worth, and integrity, you know, as an individual, to represent something good that they can, an energy, a spirit that they can overflow into the group. A lot of times they just use their credentials as a member of that group to just get by. And that has to stop. That has to stop. What can I do about it? What I can do about it is what I'm doing. I don't sit before you as, again, I'm not sitting before you as a master. I'm sitting before you as an apprentice a practitioner of the truth that I'm seeking. I'm a student, first and foremost, of truth. And I don't have any fear that if I read the Bible, for instance, that aligns me with the slave masters, you know, that means that I'm against the cause of black empowerment. I believe that I'm showing and proving to you that as a student, as someone who knows who he is, who has taken ownership of his positive purpose, I'm showing and proving to you that you can draw strength from whatever it is, whatever path that leads you towards becoming free and in ownership of, best ownership of your life as an individual. I believe that I'm showing you proof that it can be done. Studying Buddhism doesn't make me Indian, or it doesn't make me Chinese. Studying Islam doesn't make me an Arab or a Palestinian. It doesn't take me away from the group that I was born into, that I feel that I am striving to be a minister of healing and reconciliation for. So we got to stop looking at this as little children. Each path, each pathway that is most accessible to that particular group that needs that pathway, that's a valid pathway. The pathway that takes somebody from Florida out west is just as valid as the one that takes me from New York City out west. And as a student, you can begin to learn the best way to know if what you're practicing is valid is not by being narrow-minded and divisive or ridiculing of what somebody else is practicing. Open yourself up to learn, to see what are the principles, what are the standards about what they're practicing. Maybe you will find principles, core principles, that will allow you to build a common ground between you Christian, between you Muslim, between you 5%, between you more, you know. Maybe if once you stop looking for reasons to differ and you start looking for reasons to find commonality, we'll find, I believe, that we have more in common than we have to differ about. And this is when we'll be able to bring a nation of our own, where we can where we can be strong in who we are as a member of a particular tribe, but we won't feel fearful of practicing unity with other tribes, where we can meet together on the common ground of brotherhood, of sisterhood, of family, as children of the Most High. We'll find a greater commonality. So I hope you hear what I'm saying to you, family. Stop being that devil's advocate, man. Stop being that narrow-minded person who's striving to invalidate everybody else. Stop practicing division, family. You're better than that. We're better than that. And we got to begin to show proof that we are better than that. And I'm going to do my part, and I'm hoping that you will do yours. And again, if you're sitting on the sidelines and you're more focused on the system than you're focused on yourself, you're wasting your life. If you're sitting on the sidelines waiting for there to be this massive awakening, you know, of our people to now they're ready to participate, you're wasting your life. You're wasting your life. I participated in that when I first became conscious. I participated in the anger. I participated in the judgment and the ridicule. And that didn't get me anywhere. It's only when I began to recognize and realize that energy flows where your attention goes, that you have the power to either focus on all that's wrong or focus on becoming a key ingredient in what can and must and will be right. And I've been striving to spread that mission for the last maybe 8 to 10 years now. A lot of times when I'm on social media, I see some of my family who's caught up in that cycle of anger, of bitterness, of ridicule, where they're disrespecting those who don't believe as they believe. And instead of me joining on their post and going to war with them ideologically, philosophically, to fight with them, I use them sometimes as my biggest inspiration. The stronger they're judging and hating, the stronger I'm striving to love. You know what I mean? And shine light and shine encouragement. They motivate me through their pessimism. They fuel my optimism that I strive to share, that I strive to feed myself upon, and I strive to encourage other people that that will listen to your brother and be affected by the energy that your brother is striving to bring. You know? So, we got 13 minutes and 30 seconds left. I didn't get a whole lot of phone calls. Please come through and call if you got something to say. Some of the people who might have wanted to call, they might have gotten offset by the preemptive strike that I leveled at the negativity. You know, because some people, again, unfortunately, they got a love affair with hatred, with anger, with bitterness. And I understand it. I understand it. Because to open up your heart with love in an insane world that has been corrupted with bigotry and prejudice and racism, a lot of us, you know, we've come to believe that the only way for me to survive, man, is to be as hard-hearted as I can be. So I understand that. But that's not where the change is going to come from, family. The real change is going to come from people who exhibit the type of courage, the type of faith to show love, to show compassion, to show empathy to people. As angry as some of us are, as hurt, as broken as some of us are, everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be loved. The problem is that they're waiting for that love to come from the outside instead of that love starting from the inside. You first have to begin to practice that thing that you want from the outside in order to attract it to you. If you're only able or willing to practice hate, the only thing that will become magnetized to you is hate. But when you begin to learn how to practice love, caring, and concern for your own life in the most practical way possible, where you're learning how to care for that body temple. I had enough of smoking and drinking and eating the wrong foods and not exercising. I've had enough of that. I'm going to begin to care for this body temple. I'm going to begin to show love to this body temple. That's when you're on your path to healing and redeeming yourself. Phone call. Come through. Welcome, welcome. Who's speaking? Please tell me who's speaking and where you're calling from.
Peace, this is Ella again, calling from Brooklyn.
Okay. What up, sis?
Yes. Yeah, you touching on my favorite subject, which is love. Yes, love is the answer. It's the key. You know, and you know, I relate to being, you know, in my stage where I was very angry. No. Well, I was very angry. I was at an angry stage and just, pointing the finger out for the situation that I'm in, and it was like that I was in, and that everyone that I knew I felt was in. Like, everybody that I know is suffering, everybody that I know is broke, everybody that I know is poor, everybody lives in the hood, nobody cares, and I was at that stage, and it was very painful. And I'm glad that I went through it, because I can speak on it, and I can relate to those who are going through it right now and who are actually putting themselves through it, because it is a choice if you want to feel like that, and we have to realize that we have a choice.
That's right.
As to how we want to feel. We have a choice if we want to appreciate where we are or complain about where we are. And if you kind of take those things away that we do have, I'm sure we will grow appreciation for the things that we have if we didn't have it. So when we understand appreciation, we may stop pointing fingers, and that comes with love. That comes with self-love. And when I got to the point where I realized that I didn't want to be angry anymore, and I didn't want to hate people, and I didn't want to give people power, because when you're blaming people for your life, you're basically saying that they have power over you and they control you and they control your life. So I didn't want to give away that power anymore. I didn't want anybody else to be responsible for where I am, because that's not me being free. And that's total opposite of what I do want. And what I do want is freedom. So to me, freedom is love. And there was a lot of times where I chose the path of love to speak in a way that represents what true love is. And it's not giving people what they give you, but it's giving people love regardless of what they give you. Showing them that I'm not going to cure poison with poison. So when I realized that, some people, will want me to still be angry, at certain people, whether it was, the certain powers that be, or whether it was even people that I knew personally in my life. People just want you to stay angry. People just want you to carry grudges, or people just want to say you're better than them. But it's not a point of me being better than anyone, but it's to say that, I'm going to show you love because that's what I want. That's what I will want in return. I'm going to show you love because love is going to take away all of this pain that you have or that I have inside. This is what's going to take the pain away. This is going to be the medication for the past thoughts of me being lesser or me lacking. This is going to be the antidote for all of that we're suffering from. So when I realized that, I continue to do that regardless of how people would think I should feel.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? Because they think that you should be angry, you should hold a grudge, or you should make it your goal to be your best just to outdo somebody else.
That's right. Hey, I got a few minutes left, sis. I definitely appreciate you coming through. I got about 5-6 minutes left. So I'm going to start to close the show out. I definitely appreciate you for coming through and being an example of someone who is choosing to use their life, to spread the best of what we have to offer as a people, as individuals and as a people. It takes a lot of courage to do that, and I appreciate your exhibition of courage.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
No doubt. No doubt, family.
All right. Good night. I'm watching.
Thank you, sis. I mean, you brought up a lot of good points, and you made me think of something I said last week. For those of us who are caught up in, that complaining, that griping, that whining, that protest for better outside treatment, that is an unconscious admission of inferiority. That we don't believe that we stack up in the world, and we don't believe that we can get along, without the control, of other racial ethnic groups in society. And we have the ability. We are precious. We are children of the Most High. And we got to begin to practice that. And the first things first is to learn how to practice in your own healing and in your own regeneration and your own redemption. That's first things first. And then as those of us who have that self-love and are practicing that self-love, then now we got to start to begin to get up into some of the higher sciences. Entrepreneurialism, branding, and business creation. It shouldn't be where, like for instance, I was in Brooklyn Friday, you know. I was in Brooklyn Friday and I saw another store close. I saw another store close, and I already know what's most likely going to happen. Because a lot of us, we are practicing the lower submission to the lower passions of the flesh. A lot of us are practicing that misery loves company type of attitude. A lot of us are practicing, envy and jealousy and procrastination and sloth. We're not positioning ourselves to take the closing of a store as an opportunity to where we've put our money together, to where we can open up a business that we own, that we control, that we're able as a community to flood that business with our dollars so that that business can grow strong. And as that business grows strong, that business can then redistribute some of the wealth, some of the dollars that's being put into it back into projects to help to educate the children, projects to help to open up another store, to open up a mentoring program, or to deal with a lot of the different needs that we have. We're always at the mercy of the government or some other private corporation or other to do something for us, because we're not practicing that social unity and cohesiveness that will allow us to become politically, economically strong so that we can build a little Africa or build a little Wakanda. And why should we allow ourselves to be the only group in this country that's not able to practice unity, that's not able to practice social cohesiveness, so that we can begin to enter powerfully into local politics, so that we can begin to enter into locally business, branding, and entrepreneurialism, so that we can start buying up and owning the stores and the businesses in our own community. Why should we be the only group that's left in a dependent situation where we have to watch our children be turned into zombies, man? You know what I mean? Because we can't protect them. To watch our elders be hit upside the head and robbed by their own. Because we haven't organized ourselves to where we can spread opportunity and security and love in our communities. Why should we continue to live like that? And why should we let anyone else make us feel bad that we're talking about black love? Learning how to love ourselves, learning how to generate discipline and dignity and self-worth. Those are the things that's going to help us to heal from this ordeal. From the ghost of Willie Lynch, from the ghost of Jim Crow and slavery and all of those other things, divide and conquer. The things that's going to allow us to heal ourselves is us learning how to take ownership over our lives, to reconnect ourselves to our rich traditions and heritage, so that we can begin to stand up as dignified men again and dignified women again, so that we can heal the rift between black men and black women, so that we can heal the family. I got 30 seconds, family. I ask you to continue to think about some of the things that you heard tonight. I ask you to continue to come through and support the Wake Up Project with Brother Mike X. I ask you to connect with me on YouTube, My YouTube channel is BruthaMikeXSpeaks, BruthaMikeX. On Instagram, it's BruthaMikeX, BruthaMikeX. And if you join, if you request me, if you join on, please let me know that you was encouraged to join on with me by taking part with the Wake Up Project with Brother Mike X through In the Mix Radio. Having said that, man, have a blessed night. I love you, family. I love myself, which allows me to love you. And I encourage you to begin to separate yourself from any association that's striving to keep you from learning how to love yourself. Having said that, I say good night, man. Wu-Tang.
InTheMixRadio.com. Set it and forget it.